Oh no, Suleiman just blundered a rook in the long run. Let me see. So, that check. The king has to move, or if bishop takes, I just take check. Then when the king moves, the knight just comes there, check. You have to do this, and then that, then this. Yeah, the game isn't favoring here or even here. I think all are just fine. Oh no. And actually, there were two. There was that kind of fork, and also queen goes there in whichever move Omondi plays. The knight will always come to king, the rook, the queen, and the king. Rook has to take. Queen takes. This pawn folds, and yeah, just queen d7. Queen e7 has been played, and now knight takes on f8. 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 Pawn, and if the knight goes back, you just push. And c4, which is actually no, that's not the best move because once you push, pawn, say the knight goes back, you just push. The knight goes back here. And c4, which is actually no, that's not the best move because once you push, pawn, say the knight goes back, you just push. Here, the knight goes back here. And c4, which is actually no, that's not the best move because once you push, pawn, say the knight goes back, you just push. Here, the knight goes back here. More than happy. And c4, which is actually no, that's not the best move because once you push, pawn, Bishop f5 was actually played. Bishop challenging uh, bishop on f5.
Bishop
Bishop
f5 was actually played
on
bishop challenging
c3.
Bishop on f5.
Bishop
f5 was actually played
on
bishop challenging
c3.
c3.
Bishop takes on c3. While this taking here is just met with the rook coming there, the queen coming there. So you also don't want to make that move. At the same time, would you capture it? You can't capture it with the queen because of such. If you just do that, just capture. That's mate. That's mate. A very good tactic spotted by Gabriel Mwangi. Pawn takes, bishop takes, rook. No. Let's just go back to the live version of it. So after bishop takes, it's got Storm's turn to play. You can't take because of such tactics. You also can't ignore because this is coming. Check. So maybe say you play such a move and you just end up check. You have to start exposing your king, and this isn't the best option. Let's see what Coach Tom will play. Coach Tom thinking. King d2 was played, rook d8, and then the king has finally walked all the way to its initial square before castling. That's king to e1. Let's see what Brian has to say about this. Just back to the ladies' game. Delta still having an edge now, having a very good advantage. The queens have been traded. And Delta is 3 clear pawns up. You can see all the king side pawns just passed pawns, so they can, once these minor pieces start moving out of the way, the pawns can all just cruise. You want to bring your other rook, try to look for some activity along this file, maybe even just start pushing the pawns as soon as possible. Ricky Sang versus Methu.
game Ricky Sang against Meithu, just taking a more positional approach. No one's in a hurry to just try and strike. Just some very subtle maneuvers currently. The game's still drawn. On the other hand, Boera versus Suleiman, Queen f7 has just been played by Omondi. As Boera is thinking, maybe let's just look for other games. John versus Mayen. Knight e6 has just been played. Bishop e3, retreating the bishop. F4. Chasing the bishop away. And also I think trying to create some room for both the rook to just join the attack. Maybe bring the other rook. Because this is actually a problem. The king now, the pawn's under attack. Check is also coming. Feel free to ask for aid game. Maybe if you want to watch a game against a game being played by Jadon versus Irungu Brand, just feel free um, to comment just at the comment section, and also don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. G6. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So far, so good. I think only two games just showing, only two games are showing some prospects right now. That is Boera versus Omondi Suleiman. Omondi made an F5 pawn push at the wrong time, and Boera knew how to punish it. So currently, Suleiman is an exchange down, but still pushing. I can see some pawns. Maybe Suleiman went for g5, bishop times e5 was played, and bishop takes e5 has also been played. Boera still enjoying the position. Now the rooks can actually be activated. We have rook either to b1 or rook to d1, and trying to look for a way to get onto the 7th rank, or even better, just double the rooks. Coach Tomamai versus Brian's game just looks drone-ish. Delta clearly winning. Now they've further traded off the pieces, and you can see that now the 3 pawn advantage is very evident. Just a few more pawn trades, and black will even be having a better position. Because the more you trade, the least counterplay you can have. But white has to look for a way to stop those pawns from starting too much, which is also a very hard task to do. So I think black just plays knight all the way back to f8. Now some pawn storms start coming, and now the knight can just rerouted all the way to d6, just trying to look for that extra space at the same time giving the pawns some room to start advancing. So we'll just hit a quick break and we'll be back in a few minutes. In the meantime, just keep on enjoying the games. Let's see how Ricky's versus Methu's game is faring on. We just take a quick look at Madalta's king said. The knight has just been routed all the way to. We can just have a look at how she did it. She went knight straight to e7. You really can't take the pawn because it's a poisoned pawn. There's a knight coming here, fork, or even just pushing the pawn. The best is knight goes to g5, check. And then knight g3 was played. G6 followed king to e4, e3, sorry, and finally h5. c4 was played. Now it's Madalta's time. Madalta's thinking. Madalta's thinking. Surprisingly, she's only taken like 2 minutes of the normal time to play at least 29 moves. That means that she's just kind of blitzing her moves, just kind of playing intuitive moves. But they've actually landed her in a good position, so no worries. H4 has been pushed. Now the knight has to start thinking of a way to escape. And finally, after pawn takes, bishop takes, the knight can always put. Sorry, the knight can after pawn takes, bishop takes, the knight can always come put more pressure on this pawn because the bishop is gone, and then now the second, or should I say, the extra fourth pawn is on the way. Back to Suleiman's game. G4 has been played. Suleiman trying to look for active lines for the rook, active files for the rook by pushing the pawn. Maybe just opting to exchange on f3, which is not the case because Boer has just pushed f4, so just locking up the position. And also the bishop is a dark bishop, so Boer doesn't have to really worry about the king safety. Only the queen can try to maneuver towards that other side, but still we have a rook that can always occupy the open file. Bishop goes back to d6. Such moves such as c4 can always be played. Maybe just have a quick look at Jadon's game. So far, so good. Irongo Brian has just started a pawn storm towards the king side. Let's see how that will go. Also, this pawn on a5 is actually a very good pawn because it's stopping any activity on the queen side in regard to pushing the pawns. The rook's doing a good job. Currently dormant, but it always has some space on the queen side. Just go up. Go to just a rook lift, then a rook to b4, and the rook's finally in play. Also, the bishop and the queen very well aligned towards the queen side. So, just in case any pawn push is made, then the pawn on a6 is going to fall. Just a quick notice. Never mind. But black is having a bishop pair, which theoretically speaking should give black an edge. The two bishops are better than a bishop and a knight, though arguably in such a position I don't think it's good enough to just have a bishop. I also need to have activity. Maybe that's why Irongo is trying to get some activity towards the king side. Maybe just try and ensure the bishops are facing the king. Maybe bring the queen to the attack. I don't know how these rooks are going to get here. Maybe after f5 is going to be played, then at least the rooks can be participants towards the king side expansion. Queen h3 check. King goes to f2. Bishop d6. Pawn e3. And now you can see the way the bishop is just being rendered. Not that helpful in this position. Might be a threat when the bishop gets to c5, then gets to when the bishop gets to c5. Sorry, when the bishop gets to c5, then the rook comes to e6, but we still have just the simple solution. Rook goes to e1, and then this pawn is a sitting duck. Just need, yeah, the position is just not that good. Even though white's rook is kind of dormant, the rook on h1 is holding on to the pawn. Such ideas can just work. Let's see if rook d1 will be played. And rook b1 has been played. Sorry. King g7. And now actually as white I just feel like pretty confident playing rook to b7 and then just start pushing. Basically after queen there, just start pushing the pawn. Oh no, you can't do that. Nope, that's not the best idea. That's just losing. But king g7 has been played. Let's see if c4 will be played. Still only a pawn and a minor piece exchange. In the game, Ricky versus Metu. Nothing much happening so far. Can see some pressure is being piled on the c5 knight, but after the queen moves, and the knight has more than enough material defending it. Sorry. Now maybe even the e4 pawn can be a possible target, but with whatever attack whichever attacks lands on the e4 pawn, we always have f3, which is pretty solid defense for white currently. We just need to look for a way to activate our rooks. We just give our queen some bit of space. The queen is only controlling the second rank, which I don't feel is like it's that effective. Maybe say something like it's another problem is the queen. Okay, actually the queen can move because if knight takes, then the queen's hanging. Maybe say something like queen goes there. Maybe if the queen also gets out, sorry, queen comes here. If the queen gets out, then the rook can always support the pawn. The pawn better be supported by the rook compared to the queen. We want, rather than the queen, we want our queen to have some very good space. Sorry guys, I'm actually so drained. I'm just so sleepy. Depends. I think first thing for everything. Never done commentary before. I did it today. I'm actually very proud. I'm just so tired in this second round. Maybe just have a quick look at Semiyu's game. Just G3 has been played. I think that's it's actually kind of inviting. It is inviting black to push the pawn on h4 and then maybe just lock the position by playing g4. The pawn can't be taken. Because of the queen. And if you try and add maybe an attacker, I just solidify the position. If you push that, I don't have to take. I just add another attacker, and I think white is more than happy to just play such a game. Though the person is kind of drawn, the person will just be like a dead draw. And maybe white can start looking for some activity towards the queen side. How is Boera's game? After king g7, then rook. No move has been played yet. Just have a look at my Delta's game. Clearly winning so far. The pawn storm is very scary. The H pawn is just three. It's actually two squares away from promotion. Nothing much happening across all the other games. Oh no! Did Coach Tom blunder? I just want to have a quick look at that. Rook F Rook B2 check. King 1 to G1. Rook took the pawn. H3 was played. King F7. King H2. Pawn push. Bishop takes. And bishop takes. On that checkmate. Brewing. How do you stop that? That's why this rook is gone, because maybe say if this is played, rook takes. If rook takes, then rook takes check. King goes there. Check goes there. And Brian wins a rook. Oh no. I think the pawn wasn't supposed to be taken. Instead, something like a more natural rook a1 could have worked. Or even just move your rook out of the attack. But that's also still bad. So you have to immediately challenge the rook on a2. Rook comes there, challenge the rook again because why not? If pawn take, rook takes, but still your position is just horrible, even though black isn't able to capitalize on your mistakes immediately. But uh, these pawns, once this king gets closer, might be game over for us. But let's see how Coach Storm responds to bishop takes on e4. And back to the ladies section. After the knight check, Delta wins her second win for the day. Maybe if I just confirm on chess results, I think she's still leading. Sorry about that. I think even after round two, Madelta is still winning. Madelta is still leading. Only three ladies with maximum points so far. That is Madelta, Wambui Esther, and Sharon. We also have two ladies who are having 1.5 points. That's Yasmin Mudeu and also Joy Inde. Nicole's game, I'm assuming, is Nicole just won against Ether. So a couple games done in the ready section. Only having one, two, three. I think only having 3 games that are still going on. Sorry, smash the rook. Just rewind. After bishop takes, Coach Tom went for rook to e1, a cheeky way of just trying to escape, but rook takes, king goes all the way back, and rook takes, and now rook d2 has finally been played by Bran Gabriel. King forced to go to g1, and rook takes on d1 check, and that should seal the game. Easy victory. Meadows game still subtle. Mayan versus John. Nothing much also happening. I think my Blight might be slightly better. I think Black is a pawn up. Not really. And after rook d2 check, Coach Tom just resigned. So we have four more games going on. That is Ricky versus Matthew, John versus Mayen, Irungo versus Simiyu, Jadon Boera versus Suleiman, and Yak Garang versus Chiman Garang. No, the game actually ended in a draw. So our last game is Boera versus Mondi Suleiman. Maybe we just want to have a look at the game. We'll just have a quick look at the game. And now, actually, Suleiman's position is just way worse. Let me see. Is there a mating pattern here? Rook check. If king takes, then queen check. King comes here. Queen check. And that's mate in three. Mate in a few moves, sorry. But if rook check, maybe king goes there, then queen takes. King has to go there. Um, rook queen check doesn't help. King comes up. Mhm. Well, I wouldn't like a move. Say rook tries all the way back, but that's still mate. The rook can't come here because just take that. So Suleiman's position is actually worse. Maybe let's just go back to live and see what Suleiman did. Let's see if Boera will see the hidden move. A rook h5 forcing mate in a few moves. Not even mate. Actually, yeah, mate is coming soon. Because after the rook comes to e5, the bishop is falling, or some certain checks coming. Let's just have a look at it. Check goes there, queen check, king goes on the back here, queen rook. Maybe say what if the bishop moves? Check, come up, check, check, come here. That's mate. Actually, most of the variations just end up leading to checkmates. Queen e2 has been played, kind of prolonging the game. Rook b6 has just been played. Rook takes on g4. Now the queens uh, both are forcing the queen exchange, or the queen has to retreat. Let's see what Suleiman does. Queen takes on e2, accepting the queen exchange. Now rook b1 check, king goes to g2, rook goes to c1, attacking the c3 pawn. Pawn can't really be defended, so maybe just start at least advancing some pawns. The king can never join the attack because of this. Sorry, the king can never join the defense, coming to help the bishop, or even after some time the rook, from stopping these two passed pawns, because it's just cut off using the rook. So maybe say if e4 is a good move, rook takes, just push the pawns. If king tries to attack the rook, then the rook just goes all the way to g8, and the king can no longer go back, or even maybe just try chess away the rook from the g file. We just have one look at the game. Also clear, nothing much happening. waiting for Boyada to play. After Rook C1 attacking the C3 pawn. Excuse me about that. Excusez-moi.
P M Q G Q D P M Q G Q D
King G7 is displayed. Ricky has just played knight g4. You can see 25 minutes on the clock with Middle having 15 minutes on the clock. But still, that position is very closed. Not a lot of material exchange. Now, just two minor pieces and a pawn against two minor pieces and a pawn as the pieces that have just been exchanged. What about board two? Knight takes pawn. H1 has just been played. Sorry about that. Knight takes on h2. Let's see how he just winds up moves. And if the pawn captures on e7, then rook can just be played. Though there's this, so I'm assuming rook on e to e8 has to be played, and if just in case the bishop either decides to maybe say come here attacking, the bishop decides to go to a4, attacking the rook on e8, then rook takes the pawn is a very good move for black. Boera has just won. That's against Mondi Suleiman. So 3 games. Maybe we just want to have a look at how the game ended. After changes, rook takes check, knight to g2, rook takes that. The rook actually Boera just played rook g8. Not even the pawn push that you're thinking about. Even actually rook g8 just kind of serves the same purpose. The king now doesn't have that move. h5, which is meant to chase away the rook from g4, and rook takes g4 was played, bishop to d6 was played, king f3, a5, g5 check. king went to G. King went to H5, sorry. And then the rook went to G7. Finally, Omondi conceded. Now three more games taking place. Bodwan, that's Ricky versus Methu, Mayan versus John, and Irongo versus Jadon. I just want to have a look at Jadon's game. 26 minutes on the clock for Jadon, 42 minutes on the clock for Irungu. Brian, Bishop C4 has just been played. Excuse me. Rook C8. Bishop takes the bishop on E6. And now after maybe say pawn takes, after pawn takes or queen takes, we're getting into that series of, and the pawn takes. But as I was saying, now we're getting into the bishop versus knight end game. That is maybe say after the rooks are traded off, and black's position is actually looking better. Black is confident heading into this end game with this kind of structure, and now just the essence of capturing using the pawn on f7 is just giving black the option of pushing d5 immediately, because once d5 is played, the rook goes to d1, stopping the pawn push. The queen can go all the way back. Alternatively, the rook can just come back here. Though, if the rook comes, then the knight can actually move. Because right now the knight can't move. Once the knight moves, then the pawn on c2 falls. The question is, how does Brian respond to rook d1? Just back to Matthew's game. knight g4. Yeah, and I'm actually so tired. Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. As I was saying, the main I think even before playing b6, sorry. Even before playing b6, knight d3 is a very good idea, planning on just pushing the pawn and also trying to just maybe even create a pass pawn after maybe say knight comes here. Rook goes there trying to double here. Let's push the pawn. Check, and this is giving away a free pawn. But the more aggressive approach actually works. I'm just thinking of how our pawn push will actually help us. Maybe not in the best way possible, but trying to create maybe say a central pass pawn can be very fruitful in the end. But b6 has just been played. What about board 2? I can see the evaluation but just spiked, and black is +3. What happened? After the knight sacrifice, white didn't capture the knight on h2. White decided to go to g2. So about that, knight g4, d takes, knight takes the bishop, check, rook takes, queen takes, rook goes to queen goes to g4, rook check, and that's the position you're having right now. So John kinda in trouble. He's a pawn down, actually 2 pawns down, and at the same time the third pawn is just about to be captured. That is sorry, saying this pawn is just up for grabs, but the issue is bishop goes there, forking the rook, and the queen. Maybe try force some exchanges. Queen f2 played in the game Jadon versus Brian Irungu. "37 minutes on the clock for Irungu, 22 minutes on the clock for Simiyu Jadon." Rook c5 played by Irungu. Yeah, John's position just keeps on getting worse. And now Rook e8 has been rook d8 has been played, challenging the white rook on d1. Still, the the b2 pawn is hanging, and white has to do something about it. White loses that pawn, and now white is 3 pawns down, of which out of the 3 pawns, out of the 4 pawns black is having, 3 of them are passed pawns. If white manages to get at least some exchanges, that is maybe say trade off a pair of the rooks, maybe try look for a queen exchange, then the 3 pawns will actually be unstoppable. Matthew versus Ricky, the game just seems pretty. Oh no. Um, Black's position kind of being favored by the engine, but let's see how Black proceeds. The game is still hard to tell. The position still kind of unclear. You can't really say White's winning or Black's winning, or White is having the upper hand. But I actually I like the knights, the Black knights, because of the very good squares they can occupy, and also they are supporting like a rook lift all the way to d3, and then the other rook just comes behind there. Maybe say rook comes here, rook takes, knight takes, whichever knight works. You have to use this knight, you use this other knight, you lose the pawn. And knight c2 has been played by Methu Joseph. But rook c3, rook has to take, otherwise this pawn falls. So rook takes, knight takes. As I said earlier, you use this other knight. When you use this knight, you lose the, and that's what black doesn't want to do. So knight takes the pawn. And now even if queen is played, no worries. We always have pawn to play. This rook can't move. Maybe say if the rook tries to come here, then this pawn falls. So I mean, Matthew is really enjoying his position currently. Just back to the live feed, just played knight c2. And Black's white's reply to rook d8 is bishop goes to bishop goes to c2, attacking the queen. Let's see, does Mayen want to trade, or does Mayen still want to keep the pressure? So some options are maybe say queen goes to c6 to try to hold on to the position. Alternatively, rook takes, bishop takes, and we could just bring the rook there. That also looks like, so rook takes, bishop takes, and a rook comes. Can I get the pawn? Maybe. And you're still winning regardless. 3 Mayo versus Brian Monge. Rook c5 was played. I'm just waiting to see how how Simeyo will play after rook c5. Rook b6 has been played, putting pressure on the d pawn, the d6 pawn that is. And now rook c6. Rook takes on c6 was played. And now if pawn takes, then this pawn is in trouble. So black has to take with a pawn. Looking for a way to get this pawn here. This can be played because of that. And pawn takes, correct. Now white has to look for a way to defend this pawn. Most preferably wait, if knight comes there, you really can't kill because of this. No, actually that's a mistake. So knight goes there, take, pawn push. Here. You have to route your knight all the way here, coming to put pressure here. Or even if the knight comes here, then the rook will just come here now, targeting this pawn. The pawn can't be defended. Actually, it can. Comes here, knight comes there, push the pawn, fork. I'm just overthinking. Let's see what white does. can't see some pawn advances have just been made. Pawn advance that is, and d5 is actually a very good move. E4 takes on d5 isn't the best way forward because it's just number one helping black get rid of the double pawns, number two just accelerating black's attack towards the center, in the center, that is at the center. E takes on d5 has been played, and now e takes on d5 will also be played, getting rid of the isolated pawns. And now d4 is a serious threat. Jado in 10 minutes and counting might actually get himself into time pressure. Queen f2. Now this pawn push is actually becoming very interesting. D4. If d4 is played, then d4, the knight goes. Knight can come here because of this problem. So wait, what? It's a mistake. One push and you're actually winning a piece, because after knight comes here, then you're having this problem. And that's lost. Sidon might have actually blundered. And Irongo plays e4. Oh, Jadon plays knight e4. And the killer move bishop e3 should be played any time from now. Bishop e3 pinning the queen to the king. From Jadon. And Jadon just resigns. Now 2 more games left. Well, up until I think up until move 19, the game was just okay. It was kind of drawn. Then at some point had some very good attack that was h4, but didn't play it. Went for f3. Erongo challenged the g pawn. I think I'm back online. A very annoying pawn on f3. Now the queen is targeting the pawn on b2, and that's that. Let's just have a quick look at Ricky's game. So far, so good. Knight c2 has been played. White queen is under attack. The queen has to look for shelter. And if the queen goes to f3, now even the black queen can at least come try hang out around the second rank. Ricky Sang having 12 minutes on the clock, Methu having 33 minutes on the clock, and also in Brazil, Mayen having 14 minutes on the clock, whereas John is having 31 minutes on the clock. Let's see how the two games unfold. Actually, currently, in the ladies category, only one game is left, and that's Nicole versus Ether. My Delta won. Faith beat Annabelle, and Julia beat Kenya. We'll just have a quick look at the open section. So far, only 2 games are left. Let me just confirm. Actually, a couple games are still going on. That is Chumba playing against Hugh Misiko, Kipchumba playing against Daniel Misiko, Nkanda playing against Chitundu, Eli playing against Joyce Nirwai. Jadon just lost to Brian Irungu, and we all Bodon and Bodu are still, the games are still on. I think a move has been made. Queen was played to c3. Knight retreated to d4. Now it's Ricky's turn to play. Let's see if Ricky is willing to exchange the knight. Though exchanging the knight just means giving black passed pawn. Mayen with 11 minutes on the clock. And Queen f4 has just been played. Mayen pushing so much for the queen trade. Ricky Sang taking his time, 10 minutes on the clock, whereas Melo has 33 minutes. Let's see if John will accept the queen exchange. Actually, accepting the queen trade means white is going to get the black pawn, because queen takes, rook takes, and the bishop just comes there. If the rook goes to the other side, check. Well, I wouldn't prefer playing that, but I have no other move. I have to come here. If king comes here, then this is a very big problem. So rook comes, and you can just always go back or even just push the pawn. This is actually a sweet way to force victory. Ricky has just played. Maybe just have a quick look at the move he's made. Queen B2 has been played. I'm assuming they went for the knight takes on E on D4. Pawn takes on D4, chasing away the queen. Queen goes back. And can black push the pawn? I don't think black wants to overstretch the pawn to understand that the pawn can't be defended by, say, something like a move like c5. But Method's position is relatively better compared to Ricky's position, especially if Method can capitalize on the passed pawn that's just on d4. Method pushed the pawn. E3 has been played. E5 by Ricky. And I don't think that's a very good move. So push the pawn. Knight has to come here. Queen comes, pawn takes. And this is just not the best line. Ricky might be in trouble. John still fighting, declined the queen trade, but now the queen goes to g3, attacking the rook. And if the rook moves, then a pawn push will be made. If the rook goes anywhere, then this pawn push is coming. If the queen comes there, I'm assuming. Oopsie, sorry. Let me see. If the queen comes here, bishop comes here. But isn't this? Is this that bad? Oh yes, it is. Method thinking about the pawn push. Thinking about the pawn push. These two games are now becoming hard. Waiting to see how John plays in this position. The only good move actually is Queen E3. Any other move, especially rook move, just if the rook moves anywhere outside the second file, then this is checkmate. And if the rook just hovers around the second file, the other issue is a pawn push. So white having quite few options to choose from. John now having double man's time, but still having a very bad position. Ricky with 8 minutes, Matthew with 25 minutes. Matthew still deciding to either put the pawn or go for the exchange on e5. And now, just some quick updates on the results. On board 8, Joyce has just lost to Chariot Eli. Ellie or Eli, I don't know how you can pronounce that name, but I think it's Ellie, maybe. Hugh versus Chumba. The game has just ended in a draw. And Panchol has won. He was actually he was playing against Samuel Guy. One, two. Now 4 games left. John, from having more than double Mayen's time to now having only 5 minutes more than Mayen. The position is really tricky. Let's just have a look. I think John is trying to figure out the best move. But the only saving move, as I said earlier, is queen goes to e3. Any other move is just a loss for white. Matthew's time is also elapsing, almost having less than 20 minutes. I'm just coming to the conclusion of round 2. Only 4 games left in the open section. Let's see how many games are still going on in the ladies section. I think still Nicole versus Karanja. Ether versus Nicole. They are still playing. And now, after knight, after queen d3 was played, pawn took, and now queen e3 has been played. Queen e2, sorry, has been played. Let's see if Ricky will find queen e5. It's a very hard move to find. I think no one will be willing to lose. None is willing to lose a knight in such a position. And let me see. What does white get in exchange after queen goes there? Queen takes check. King comes here. You have to sacrifice your queen. Otherwise, I think be safe. Such a move is played, then that's checkmate. Now after queen comes here, king check, king goes there, queen check, takes, promotes, king goes back. Now we go all the way back. Now having an extra knight. No checks, no intermediate checks. Back to life. Ricky with 3 minutes on the clock, not really having much of an option here, getting into time pressure. He has to get the move queen to e5 as soon as possible. And let's just go and have a look at. And Mayen is crashing. Don't just play bishop e5. Let's see if the Hail Marys will start following up. That is, rook goes to d8 check. The king obviously comes. Rook d8. King comes. Maybe rook check. King just comes all the way. You take the pawn. Very okay. I still. What's the purpose of the move? Can't go here. Actually, yeah, you can. If you go here, rook takes, and isn't this? Oh, that's an intermezzo. John went for rook check, and Mayan played king to g7, rook to d7 check. Let's see if Mayan will play king to f6, showing me it's checkmate in 11 moves. Just some deep analysis. Let's see how the checkmate unfolds. And Ricky actually played queen to c2, and then now knight has been played. Some tough moves just about to follow. That's knight comes there, threatening checkmate. The king can't come here. The queen can't come here. Sorry, because queen just takes. So now Ricky has to watch out for the move knight to e1. Ricky with less than 2 minutes on the clock. Well, actually, the position just demands a lot of time, but Ricky is under time pressure, so he has to depend on his intuition. But finding the solution to knight to c3 has been played. Actually, also thinking of this move. Hmm. And Rick just played knight to e1. Rick takes, comes back, goes there. King comes here, just promote. Knight takes, and this is just lost for white. A very way of simplifying the position. And white is forced to take, otherwise this is checkmate. And now rook d3 has been played. That's John versus Maya, the best move. Queen takes, bishop takes, rook takes, that, check, comes back, check. And now the game is hard. Okay, queen takes on d3. Bishop takes the queen on d3. Rook takes the queen on d3. And now Meto has just played knight to e3. And I don't think Miami is actually now enjoying the position he's found himself in. The pawns on h7 and a7 are under attack. Now the pawns just doing performing some windmill capture pawn at time. Rook f, rook f5 check. h6. b4. Ricky just played. Let's have a look at that game. Rook check. c4, c5 by Ricky. B5 played by Methu. Knight B4 check. I'll actually think now Matthew is clearly winning because just push the pawn. If the king comes here, just push the pawn again. Well, if the king takes it, that's lost. Maybe if the king comes here, just check. Captures here, then you capture there, check. And now you just come for these other pawns, and you're free to cruise to victory. Let's see what Matthew does. I'll push, pick, push, push. promote, or just sticking around. And the queen can always come behind the pawn. And to just have a look at Don Pawn versus Mayen. The game's still tough. Queen b8 has just been played. Attacking the bishop on b4. I think now I'm back online. My internet keeps on twitching, so maybe that's the issue. But I think in the next 20 minutes it should be done. Okay, cool. And now I think Bodon Mate is clearly winning. If Kamba check, wherever the king goes, I'm just getting this that pawn. All these pawns are just going to fall in the next couple moves. And also, but two, the game's tied. Mayen having the upper hand when it comes to the imbalance, but having some problem with the time. Now no longer having the upper hand. Initially, he had a very good attack. We'll just rewind to that point. Here, after rook check, king came here, rook check, king came here, and the queen came here. If that was played, I don't think so. I think he ended up pushing the pawn at some point. Now, Ricky back to having less than 2 minutes. Yeah, and g5 will be played. It will play g5, and then whichever move the king plays, knight f2, knight f2, knight takes, king takes, and probably the game is just gone. What about the second board? Let's see what's up. Game still hard. Yes, and finally, good one. Methu has won after 65 well fought moves. Now only one more game to go, and that is for two. Mayan versus John. Mm. G5. Yeah, this game most likely will actually end up in a draw. Um, by repetition at some point, maybe if H5 is played, because obviously white doesn't want black to continue advancing the pawns. A3 has been played. All the players almost having under 5 minutes, but they need not worry because after every move they're getting an additional 30 seconds, and that's why the games just are as lengthy as a game can last even up to 4 hours. Bishop takes on a3. Queen g2 check has been played. Because black was like throwing. Let's see how the game goes. Maybe just to have some updates on the board two. Ladies, still the scores aren't out. H5 has just been played. Black trying as much as he can to just match the H and the G pawns. Now some discovered attacks coming up. Some twitches. And now rook. Check what this will make for you. Why? Uh-oh. And now black is in trouble. I think Mayen, out of the time pressure, has just blundered, and now the rook's gone. Ask this. What happens? Queen f5 check. The king has to go back. King comes, push the pawn, check, and mate.
So it actually mate in a few moves. 2.
Mayan, unlucky with the position. Well, really well fought, really well fought. But again, due to time pressure, he ended up making some mistakes and also a grave blunder at the end, costing him the game. King f4 has been played. The pawn push is forced. Then queen g5 and queen g3. Wow, what a game! Just waiting for the confirmation that the game's over and we can finally conclude today's rounds. What some awesome games we've seen today. And yes, Mayen just resigned. Now John wins the game. Wow. What a wonderful day we've had. Anyways, guys, that was it. Thank you so much again. Special shout out, special thanks to Chess Kenya, to Prix for making this a success, and also our technician slash our technical support, Mr. Isaac Apivo behind the scenes. Also, thank you viewers so much. I've seen 62 subs. Thank you so much for all the subscribers. And I would like to wish you guys a blessed Labor Day. See you guys tomorrow. Peace out.